the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
As I'm sure that you know by now, today is Valentine's Day, and whether or not you are going to be celebrating it with your spouse or not, it's a great opportunity to think about our marriages, especially if you're going through, a rough time, a difficult, challenging time. Do you have any deep wounds that you need to heal? How can we transform that pain into purpose so we can heal our marriage? Joining us in studio is our good friend, Doug Hinder, the host of Marriage Unhindered here on Relevant Radio, which you can hear weekdays at 5 p.m. Central, to talk about his brand new book, Rekindled Hearts, A Spiritual Journey to Marital Healing, which, by the way, is a perfect help and gift idea for your marriage. I have a beautiful signed version of the book here with me, thanks to Doug in person in studio. Doug is a licensed marriage and family therapist whose passion is working with couples to help them live the married life that God intended from the very beginning. Doug, thanks so much for being up bright and early here in studio and joining us, just like old times.
Good to be here, John. Yeah, and I don't know how many times you had me on as a guest, but this
many times,
dozens. But this is the first time I've actually been in the studio with you, so that's pretty cool.
Right, you're used to sitting on this side of the anchor desk.
Yeah. You and I, we share the same studio. I'm on in the evening, of course, and John's on in the morning. So.
I always know when you're not here if my chair is either taller or lower, because you're way taller than me, for sure. Well, what's that been like, the experience of hosting Marriage Unhindered? You've been doing it now for well over a year.
Yeah, I started last January on Saturdays, and then in June went to Monday through Friday. You know what, John? Being on the radio is nothing I even ever imagined, right? It's an entirely new world, and I'm loving it. I'm really rocking it. I'm kind of like, this is the most fun job I've ever had. And at an age when most people are retired and golfing, I'm just launching a whole new career, and I'm really enjoying every single day. This is great fun.
Don't you have like a 16-hour day planned today?
Well, I do, today, because when my show's over at 6, I'm driving to a parish where I'm giving a talk on Valentine's Day, and so I probably won't get home till 10 or 11 tonight, so it's going to be a long day.
Well, I know you've been having fun, dealing with the folks day in and day out, and how gratifying has it been to be able to help, people, to really give them some good, solid advice to help them with their marriages when people call in, with all kinds of issues?
No, there's no better feeling. There is no better feeling. And just this morning, I got in a little bit early, went up to my office, and the first email I had was a woman telling me that the show made a difference in their marriage and they're doing much better now. And, bless you, Doug, for what you're doing. That makes it all worthwhile. If it can just help one marriage improve, I think it's all worthwhile. But I think, with Relevant Radio and our reach, 220 stations, there's a chance to reach, hundreds, thousands of marriages. And that's pretty exciting. I feel privileged, blessed, and humbled by
Okay,
this.
Doug, now we do have a marriage that we have a question for, some help and encouragement. We think that you could help. Earlier this week, we had this discussion on air when you're coming home from work and you're going to say hello to your spouse, but the pet comes to the door first, and there's kind of, do I go to the pet first? Do I go to the wife first?
Yeah.
What is the protocol here for a happy
She's
family
talking about
life?
my beagle, Blaze.
Well, yeah, right. But I have the exact same problem because when I walk in the door, the dog is the first one there. So
of course, right. The dog always comes first.
The dog gets scruffied, and then I push the dog aside, and then I go find my wife, right? And she's usually coming towards the door. The problem is the dog is a lot faster. So the dog gets here first. So the dog gets petted, the wife gets kissed, generally in that order.
Okay, so would it be bad form to kiss the dog and then kiss your wife, or is
no
that
dog
okay?
kissing. Dog kissing, there's too many germs.
Petting is good, though.
Petting
is good.
Pet the dog, kiss the wife. That's the rule.
I love it.
There you go.
See, I'm not the other one with the...
You and your wife can both listen to Doug's show, I think.
Yes, with the doggy greeting issues,
It's okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'd love to get your take, you being a licensed marriage and family therapist, an expert. Today's Valentine's Day, of course.
Yeah.
Is this an opportunity for couples who may be going through a little bit of a rough patch for at least for one day, to go out and spend some quality time together? And who knows, maybe they can rekindle some of those old feelings.
I love the word rekindle, John. Yeah, and yes, for sure, right? And the idea, we should all be having a weekly date night, and we often don't do that. But this is one of those deals where, let's go out. And let's just, tonight, put all the problems aside, put all the kids aside, forget about the kids, forget about the dog, forget about all that stuff, and let's just focus on us, on our love, and let's use this opportunity to kind of just go through a list of those things I really love about you. What is it I admire about you, that I like about you, that I'm thankful for with you? Let's just kind of give that litany to each other tonight, whether you're at dinner or you're home or whatever. Use it to affirm, to praise, and to show some gratitude, and that'll put some new energy back into your marriage for sure.
Great advice that this reporter will put into play tonight for sure. All right. Congratulations on your new book. I'm really, really happy for you. Rekindled Hearts, A Spiritual Journey to Marital Healing, which launched this week here on the Relevant Radio store. Really exciting stuff.
It really is. I think something like 30 copies were sold yesterday. And we haven't even really launched it yet. So it's another humbling thing. It's another thing like me being on the radio, never once did I imagine that. Me having a book, never once did I ever imagine that would happen either. And so, this past year, God has done some remarkable things in my life that I never saw, never anticipated, and I'm humbled by all of it. So, I hope the book can help a few folks.
Is the book kind of a compilation based on all your years of experience, or are you including maybe some anecdotes from what you've shared with the listeners in the last year?
Yeah, not any real anecdotes from the past year. Really, the book grew out of my frustration as a therapist. And if you're a marriage therapist, there's a lot of frustration in your life because a lot of couples don't get it, they don't get better. The most frustrating thing for me was when I would get a call from, usually it's the wife, sometimes the husband, who says, my marriage is a disaster, but my spouse won't go to therapy. They won't come in. Is there anything I can do to heal this marriage on my own? And the answer is, yeah, there is, but there's going to be a lot of suffering for you because if you've got a spouse who doesn't care, you're going to suffer. And so this book is really about suffering, how to suffer well, and how to sanctify your life through your suffering. So it's really a book about suffering. In fact, my working title from the beginning was Suffering in Marriage. Then when it came time to publish it, we're not publishing that title. We need a different one. That's how we came up with Rekindled Hearts.
How important is it for couples to understand that that suffering can be redemptive? It can actually help you grow in holiness as the two of you figure things out.
I think it makes all the difference in the world because here's the deal. And you may not have known it until you got married, but you figured it out about the week after you got home from the honeymoon. You married a person with defects. You married an imperfect person with flaws. And those defects, those flaws, are going to cause some suffering from time to time. That's just human nature. I mean, the research is clear and a little scary, but 69% of the conflicts that couples have, you're not going to get it resolved. It's just not going to be fixed. So you got to learn to live with it. Well, that's going to cause some suffering. Well, let's sanctify that suffering. Let's use that suffering, unite it with Christ's cross, and use that as to get us into heaven.
What about those couples that are going through so-called irreconcilable differences? What kind of advice do you give in your book?
Yeah, irreconcilable differences. I don't really believe in irreconcilable differences. I believe that you made a vow to stay married forever, and that's gonna bring some pain with it. Some people have little pain, some people have big pain, right? But you're gonna have pain. But if you can look at suffering as a good of marriage, as the vehicle by which I'm going to develop virtue and unite myself with Jesus Christ, then all of a sudden the suffering takes on kind of a great value, a redeeming value, and then it becomes a good thing, not a bad thing. And so even if you've got a spouse who isn't interested in, the idea of marriage, John, is not happiness, it's holiness. And so if we get that idea that how can I become holy with this spouse, you will. And then the dirty little secret is happiness is the end result of holiness, right? The saints were very happy people. So if we focus on holiness, we'll become happy.
Doug, how do you envision, people using your book?
Yeah. So I tried to accomplish three things in a book, which is probably way too ambitious, especially for a first book. First is you could just sit down and read this thing like you'd read any other book. But I really wrote in such a way that you can use this book in your mental prayer, that you can take this book with you into an adoration chapel, read a page, and sit and think about it, pray about it, ask our Lord to, open your mind and lighten your heart as how you can apply this to your marriage. And then lastly, at the end of each book, so the setting for the book is one of spiritual direction. This couple is seeing the same priest for spiritual direction, only they don't know the other one is seeing the same priest. So that's kind of But at the end of each chapter, then the priest gives some direction for what he wants that person to do for the next year. So an aspiration to say every day, something to pray, something to read, and something to do. So you can actually use it as a workbook as well to improve your marriage. So read it, pray it, work it.
It's a little spiritual, a little practical.
Exactly right. A little bit of both.
Awesome. Where can the folks get a copy of your
That's
book?
the cool thing, man. Relevant Radio Store, right? The brand new Relevant Radio Store. You can get your Guadalupe coffee, get your coffee mug, and then buy a book to read while you're sipping your coffee. So go out to relevantradio.com, hit the store tab, and boom, you'll be there.
What a beautiful thing. I got the book in hand, and I plan on getting some coffee a little after the show.
Good, man.
Awesome. Really appreciate you coming in live here in studio.
Well, John, thanks. And listen, thank you for getting me started on Relevant Radio. You were the impetus, kind of the driving force back in I don't know, 3 years ago when I started being a guest on your show. So thanks so much for all you've done for me.
Ultimately, it's the Holy Spirit who is guiding everything. He is the true director.
Got that right.
For sure. Thank you so much, Doug. Licensed marriage and family therapist Doug Hinder, the host of Marriage Unhindered, which, of course, you can listen to him every day here on Relevant Radio at 5 p.m. Central. Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.